This is a pretty big talk. I'm working on it. It's going to be maybe 2 books, but here it is. The central topic here is when we say we should do something about the environment. What are the conceptual things we buy into? Who are we? Right? And what is the environment? And what is the understanding of our relationship to the environment? That is in our language, in our conceptual framework in the West for a very long time. So in order to highlight how we can think differently, I'm going to take you to the great Indian epic, Mahabharata, and try to point out some of the blinders we have when we speak about these issues. So this is in 3 parts. The overview is framing the problem of ecology historically, meaning how have we understood ourselves as human beings for the longest time in humanities. And the transition, which is the limits of modernity, because something in modernity is not working out. The idea of infinite progress, for example. Maybe 100 years ago, people thought that science would create a utopia where we'll all remain young, beautiful, and immortal. Nobody believes that, least of all the Marxists. And going forward to the ancients. Why forward to the ancients? Because the trap of modernity is always the new, next, now, happening, next. And for the sake of novelty, we have become, I think, a little dehumanized. These are the 3 portions. Framing the problem. Questions concerning man. What is a human being? I know this is a politically insensitive thing to say man, but man. Because when we hear a statement like, and God became a man, yeah? Ooh. And you say, God became a woman? Will that work? He, she? No. They tried it in the Middle Ages. They tried to think of Jesus as mother and the wound in his side as the breast. And Jesus was like the mother. It did not stick because none of us even have heard of it, right? Yeah. And so what is the design? And what is destiny and what is disaster? So the design is, what is the nature of reality? We all know that the world is a material thing. The universe is a material thing in which we are, barring some aliens whom we have not made contact with, the only intelligent species. So it's up to us to save the earth and perhaps change the destiny of the universe. What is the universe? And what is man and what is man's place in it? For destiny, the questions we ought to be asking is, what is man's destiny qua man? Right? What is it we are here for? What is our destiny? Should we even be talking about our destiny? Does man have dominion on earth? Is man the steward of nature? Should we be stewards? Should we finally accept that God and man had a fallout and it is up to us to repair and restore that relationship? Disaster. Is there destruction or disaster upcoming? What would it look like? You no longer have to say, hey, when you talk to Google, because they're dropping the pretense that They're not listening until you say, hey. Right? How are we defining disaster? And if I told you that in 2 months, the planet's going to end, it's inevitable, don't you think those 2 months we would lead more meaningful lives? Is disaster just a bad thing? I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just asking these questions. Okay, so, and then when we ask questions about our ecological crisis, with scare quotes for causes, ecological crisis, 3 different separate scare quotes. What is it due to? Overpopulation, emissions, greed, technology, not enough fish in the sea, it's not on the exhaustion of resources, bad governments, human ignorance, human inertia, human intelligence. We never blame our intelligence, right? We just are too smart for our own pants and we screwed up the planet, but we don't want to admit it. Okay. And inevitable fate of the universe. So what really are these causes? And should we be framing this question in terms of one of these causes and we just fix it? Yeah, here's the problem, I fix it, right? That already implies that I see myself in a certain relationship to myself and a certain relationship to the world. So one of the central pieces is based on the paper by Lynn White. I have 3 quotes in section 1 from Lynn White. And he says, modern Western science was cast in the matrix of Christian theology. Somewhat over a century ago, science and technology, hitherto quite separate activities, joined to give mankind powers which, to judge by many ecological effects, are out of control. If so, Christianity bears a huge burden of guilt. Lynn White's argument, Christianity made man the central concern of God. Phase 1. Then phase 2, science and technology, gives this man who thinks he's the center of the universe new powers. So it doesn't have to be that Christianity continues in modernity in an explicitly religious way, but the understanding of man and his relationship to nature becomes problematic and exacerbated when Christianity enters modernity. You no longer even have to be a Christian. In fact, many think we are in a post-Christian phase. Nevertheless, old conceptual structures remain fully in place. I'm not going to read this. This is on the thing, and this is the key idea here is that the fact that communists share this notion of history, modernity, progress, and so on, helps to show what can be demonstrated on many other grounds, that Marxism, like Islam, is a Judeo-Christian heresy. So Judaism comes up and says, we look forward to repairing this world through the coming of the Messiah. Christianity will interpret that and say, look, here is the Messiah, ecce homo, this is the man, yeah? And then the third phase is Islam says, you know what? God has sent a new telegram. The new model is Islam. And Marxism says, no, 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 no. All those are old and religious forms of thinking. We will just take the idea of history itself and just push it towards progress. Right? Naturally, the least interesting ones among these 4 candidates would be the Marxists, for me. Because every religion has had problems, right? Someone kills off somebody, somebody misbehaves, somebody like mistreats their women, some shit happens. And religion gets blamed, often. It's an easy target. But I don't think any religion has committed more violence than Marxism, yet we tend not to think of it. Why? Because God has disappeared from Marxism as the target. Nevertheless, it remains the same thing. I prefer God to be there, kind of owning up the stuff, being a responsible parent. What does the old theology say? So underlying modernity is an old theology that reality is actually linear, historical, and the story of man from creation, and it is the story of man, not man, woman. It's the story of man as in mankind, from creation to the fall and to salvation. Man has dominion over animals and nature. This is Genesis 1. Because man is created in the image of God. Destiny. Man's destiny is to be hopeful of a future effected through God. The word God is crossed out in Marxism and replaced by man. You see the polarity here, right? It's like man, God. When we speak about God, we are really speaking about man. When we're speaking about man, we are really talking about a theology. And that sort of Escher-like flip is present in all our thinking. Disaster. The apocalypse is a part of God's plan, which is seen in human history, and therefore it remains forever man's job to sort of postpone the apocalypse by making mankind great again. Caveats. Okay, people, I don't have to do this in New York or Strand, but imagine if I was talking somewhere else. I won't mention any names for fear of offending anyone. But this is not a discussion on religion, clearly. You know, I'm not the kind of person you should be listening to when on matters such as God. So this is not about Christianity or paganism, but an exploration of different ways to understand the question we here as cosmopolitan, modern mankind is right now in modernity. It's not a criticism of Christianity or Christian theology, which is anyway superior to ignorant political interpretations. The reason God is dead today, according to Nietzsche, God is dead, but my private joke about this is God died because he couldn't suffer the stupidity of his followers, his spokesman. So Erik Erikson, you know who he is? He's a big Republican figure. And he said, I worship Jesus, not Mother Earth. He calls us all to be good stewards of the planet, but doesn't mean I have to care about global warming. So this talk is not baiting to that kind of stuff, okay? So if you're thinking, is he don't worry about what I'm thinking, just worry about what I'm saying. The theology of modernity continues in this way. Reality is linear. It is historical. Man is rational and thus unique as an image of God. Nature is mechanical. It's a created thing and useful to man as resources. Destiny. Man's destiny is to be hopeful of a future effected through science, technology, progress, utopia, right? Why else do you think all those fundamentalists have a problem with science? Because they understand science better than scientists understand science. They know it's a theology, and a competing one at that. Disaster. Catastrophe is a part of nature. Humans are stewards. We can study it and maybe reduce or postpone some of it, or when shit hits the fan, we can sit in a ship and fly off to Mars. Modern technology reveals the anthropocentricity of theology, that anthropos, man, is the center of all our thinking. Now we come to Heidegger, Martin Heidegger. These are all quotes from a very good essay. He was a Nazi. I just have to lay it out there. But, when, thinkers are so few that you have to sort of get into bed with strange bedfellows. Modern technology, too, is a means to an end. So technology continues to see nature as resources, as something manipulable, something different from man, that we are somehow separated from nature. In fact, this is an explicit argument early Christianity made vis-a-vis the pagans, because they said, you pagans worship trees. How stupid can you get? Is God a tree? Did the tree make the universe? So the trap here is the dichotomy, which is age-old, about this sort of this banishment of pagan thought into sentimentalism, irrationality, femininity. If you're a tree hugger, right, you might as well shave your legs. Okay. This doesn't mean I think anybody should or should not shave your legs. Okay. We will master it, meaning technology and nature. The will to mastery becomes all the more urgent the more technology threatens to slip from human control. So we've reached a point where we were masters and we use technology. We've come to a point where technology has mastered us. Right? Right? If you were dating someone who forbid you to be on social media, there are many other fish in the sea. Not as many as there used to be, but there's still plenty. Goodbye. Okay, so we serve technology. We wake up in the morning when we are told to. We do all the things to keep this machinery going, and we are the data for the technology. We are the market for the technology, and we exist now for technology. Heidegger thought about this. It's a very important idea. Unfortunately, Heideggerians, like most academics, now just give endless, boring papers to each other in conferences. But David saved me. Otherwise, I'd be at a Heidegger conference right now. So what is it that modern technology reveals to us? It is also telling us something, and the revealing that holds sway, Heidegger has a really strange way of talking, okay? Probably he was smarter than everybody else in his class, and they probably made fun of him. This is the kindest way to explain his language. Okay. So throughout modern technology does not unfold into a bringing forth in the sense of a poiesis. We do not think of a certain kind of a coming forth, a formation. We try to think technologically to see what can I use, how can I use, what is the cause of this so I can manipulate it, okay? But poetic thinking is different. The revealing that rules modern technology is a challenge. The challenge originally was that a farmer would challenge the soil to give him the grain, right? Now the challenge enframes us in a way that we put unreasonable demands on it's not just that I grow things in a heedful way, it's that I must grow enough so I will have every crop at every time. right? I want to eat tomatoes in January. So it puts unreasonable demand that it supply energy that can be extracted and stored as such. Everything becomes a storehouse. A mountain, you look at it and you say, what is the mineral potential of it? You look at a river, hydroelectric power. The earth now reveals itself as a coal mining district, the soil as a mineral deposit. So this is the question I asked you, and he says, man comes to a point where he himself will be taken as standing on reserve, right? Think of human resources. What the hell is human resources? Headhunters? Really? How much does that pay? I think I can do it. I'll do anything for the right price. Anything at all. Anything. As long as pay is involved, it's my choice. Mankind's choice. Okay. Meanwhile, man exalts himself to the posture of the Lord of the earth. The Sanskrit word for this is Mahipati, Lord of the earth. This illusion gives rise in turn to one final delusion. It seems as though man everywhere encounters only man and his interests. The whole universe has nothing except the sad old story of man and his will to power. Those of you who are savvy with these terms know that there is a history behind each of these terms, but, well, I can only do so much. Transition. So that's how we are thinking now of modernity as a theology. So is there an alternative to, and theology doesn't mean about this or that God. It means an account of overall reality. So the transition is fivefold. If we have to think of a real true transition and not add another chapter, what's the next good idea? You go from modernity to ancients, because the first thing, if your car is out of control, what's the first thing you're going to do? Brakes. Why not gas? To drive out of the problem, no? You can't go forward? Right? Titanic sank that way, you know, they speeded up to avoid the iceberg. If they just put the brakes on. So in a way, we have to overcome this delusion of what is new is better. From a Christian in the sense that I laid out, conception of reality to a pagan model, whatever that is, right? And from anthropocentricity to cosmology. This is one of Nietzsche's persistent claims. When he says God is dead, he also means that man should recognize himself as nothing more than a speck in the cosmos. He says the universe was very old, and there was a small planet, it had a flea or a cockroach, I don't know what it is, which is called man. He hops, he dies, the universe goes on. So he's replacing a cosmological model for an anthropocentric model, from historicity to poetry, because in history there is only this one story. This is who I am, this is where I've come from, and this is where I'm going. Everything is already laid out for you. To poiesis, a kind of poetic thinking, and from the will to power over everything to self-mastery, which I think is Nietzsche's meaning of self-overcoming. Okay? So these transitions have been already made in Western thought, in the thinking of Nietzsche, Heidegger, and to some extent also Foucault, because Foucault wants to get rid of easy linear history into a genealogy, which is much more revealing of who we are. From modernity to the ancients, the specific text I'm proposing we read is not a philosophical text, but a poetic text. It is a Sanskrit epic. It is probably much older, but we'll just say 2nd BCE, because I don't want Indologists jumping out of the bushes with their spears. So, the Mahabharata is it's like an hourglass. It's a culmination of a Vedic period before it, but everything that is called the Hindu tradition comes out of the Mahabharata. Anybody who wants to challenge me can go ahead and do so in the question period. And contemporary Hinduism is based on it because I promised a pagan model, and so I have to seriously tell you which one it is that I want to compare or have expertise in comparing. And the Bhagavad Gita, which many Hindus think is their scripture, is part of the epic and is considered the philosophical and scriptural basis of Hinduism. Yes, Goebbels was fond of the Gita as well. But Stalin was fond of children. Are we going to get rid of children? From Christian concept, yeah, didn't you know that Stalin was extremely fond of children and opera? He used to cry in the opera. God bless Stalin's soul. You know, there is some goodness in all of mankind. We would like to believe that. So Hinduism is the world's third largest religion, so I don't want to pick on some random tribe or some pagan religion that is dead but is being revived in Sedona, Arizona. So I want to go with something for which there is textual evidence. And compared to the relationship between the pagan and the Christian Western model, it's much more continuous. So only about 10 to 15% of Greek and classical texts were preserved in Christianity. The rest is lost. And the ancients always served as a sort of a kicking ball for the new message. Caveat, Hinduism is not a faith-based religion. It has no conversions. I can talk about it, I'm not like a secret missionary that knocks on your door on the Sunday morning. Therefore, comparisons with Christianity are strictly analytical and not theological. In fact, I am very, very fond of Catholic theology. St. Augustine is one of my favorites, but I know them all. From the old church fathers, like Tertullian and Origen, but also the little ones in between, like Minucius Felix. Have you heard of him? Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I would rather do. Therefore, comparisons are analytic. Further, caveat, Christianity has preserved some Greek things, so this is not bashing anybody, but thinking seriously. From anthropocentricity to cosmology, according to the Mahabharata, the ultimate cause of all reality is absolute being itself, called Brahman, which is a neuter noun, people. It's not a guy, it's not a girl, it's not a woman, it's not an angry woman. We all know that an angry woman fits our conception of deity most perfectly. But Hera, I was talking about the goddess Hera. The universe emanates from this first principle and resolves into it, something like Nietzsche's eternal recurrence of the same. Man is just another entity in the matrix of the universe with no special thinghood to him or her. It's not historical because time is cyclical, and there is no question of salvation or redemption or also damnation. Salvation is like It's like medicine made up for damnation. So if you don't believe in damnation, you don't have to buy into the salvation myth. History is a salvation myth. This means the universe repeats itself like a virtual reality game, and the player who's in the game is an individual soul trying to escape its repetitive loop. And if you're thinking of Matrix and all that stuff, well, it has to come from somewhere. I don't think Yoda is based on any of the Hebrew prophets. Naturally, we have gone from dumb meaning dead materialism to poetry. The Mahabharata is explicitly designed as a poetic loop, a cycle. So now I come to the third and last section, back to the ancients. And the Mahabharata is the following. The iconography of Hinduism's plastic and performative arts is based on the Mahabharata because it is self-consciously poetic. So everybody knows that they are making up a poetry. It is distinctly epistemic. It is self-conscious of itself as an image of a cycle gone by. Right? So that self-consciousness of a representation is a more honest representation than just a representation which pretends to be real. It is neither merely the knowledge of material things, although in India they're digging up to find some spear, some bronze spearhead and stuff. It's like, Heinrich Schliemann took a tractor and went at and destroyed half of the Trojan remains. So we are all trying to see that it is real only if I find a spearhead and some physical material evidence. So let's plunge into the matrix of the Mahabharata, knowing that it is not mere myth or mere history. So this would be the Christians say, you pagans are mythical and invented the category of myth, and they say, we Christians are historic and empirical, but both those categories, I think, do not apply to the Mahabharata. So this is how the universe is defined in the Mahabharata. In the first book, it has 18 books. Just as with the change of the season, all the various signs of the season appear, so also all these beings appear at the beginning of each epoch, eon. Thus, without beginning and without end, rolls the wheel of existence around in this world, causing origin and destruction, beginningless and endless. In this view of the universe, anthropocentricity is impossible. That's the idea I want you to get. A vision of reality where I am not the center, the subject versus the whole universe as an object. So what organizes the universe? Something called dharma. That dharma has many things. Look here, macroscopic, microscopic, mesocosmic. The dharma of the sun is to shine. The dharma of a warrior is to do battle heroically as best as he can. The dharma of a cow is to give milk. The dharma of planets are to revolve around the sun. You get the point. So it includes natural law, political law, social law, the rules for ethical behavior also. So I am born into this ethical matrix, and I enter this universe just as the sun enters or manifests in this universe and does its job to shine. So also I enter this universe to do whatever it is that I can do. So I cannot speak of rights, all these rights that attach to me, because deep down I am man in the image of God. The whole universe is there for me. So the language of rights, think about it. Versus the language of obligation. What am I obliged to do? What ought I do? Not how ought I be esteemed and respected? Right? It's a tragic thing. So the three options are, I live dharmically, striving for the welfare of the world, not to change its course or anything. I'm a baker, my job is to bake, I will make the best whatever I can. And as long as I can, and I die. In this way, I'm neither the master of the universe that has to set it right, nor am I someone who despises the universe. The second thing is you can wake up from this matrix, nirvana or moksha, but we won't talk about it because we don't have time and it takes a long time to explain. Basically, it's like the matrix, you wake up from it. But adharma, unethical behavior is prohibited. It is destructive to you, it harms society. And all egotistic behavior is adharmic. The minute I say I'm already posited the whole universe as a thing. Right? In a relationship, when you have to explain who you are to the other person, you know you've become a tyrant. Right? God damn it, you don't understand me. And yesterday, how dare you? The croissant was not flaky. So it's not, when you're bitching about other people, you should know that it's you. That's the problem. Okay, so no adharma of ever, but Mahabharata goes one step further and says egotism is demonic. And living dharmically is divine. So there's this, so what am I? I am this constant struggle between the demonic and the divine, and I have to self-overcome, meaning I restrain the demonic and become divine. It's a very dynamic model. It does not have some essence as this is who I am, right? Can't put that on your Facebook page, right? Profile, about you. I'm a battle between gods and demons. That's the only honest thing you can really say about yourself. Think about it. And you can at most say, but I believe that the God should win. But more than that, you're just lying. The universe is an emanation of Brahman, so it is not a created thing. Man has a special faculty, not knowledge of the universe, but knowledge of ethics, his dharma. He can be conscious of his dharma. He has no special essence. The earth is not there for man's use, nor does the earth depend upon man for her salvation, because it is Mother Earth. So having said this, we'll travel in time, space, and text with the power of Mahabharata's poetry. The two places we're going to go to are in India. One is Deoghar, and there's a temple there from 6th century BCE, Dashavatara temple. And there are a bunch of temples in the Hoysala that belong to the Hoysala Empire from 12th century CE. This is the 6th century CE temple, the Dashavatara temple. Why am I taking you there? Because the Mahabharata gets completely iconographically described in the temple. For example, Brahman is represented as an inert sleeping principle that from which the universe emanates. The snake he's sleeping on is time itself, which is coiled up, and he's the principle of reality. So in the Mahabharata, this is how the book begins, or the story begins. Vishnu is sleeping, and Mother Earth goes to him and says, I cannot bear mankind. They have become a burden upon me. And Vishnu says, don't worry, I will descend or manifest in this virtual reality game as an avatar, as Krishna. I will cause a battle between the gods and the demons, and the earth will be unburdened. So all the kings on earth fight and die, basically. Unburdening the earth. And Vishnu is born in a twin form as Vishnu, who is Krishna, and as the immortal principle that will be his companion Arjuna, the warrior. And as two warriors, they descend as this. So look at the steps of emanation. There's Brahman, then there's Vishnu, then there is Krishna. No, Narayana, Narayana, the ascetics, and then Krishna. So it's this sort of progressive emanation. Then I want to take you to the Chanakeshwara temple in Belur. This is South India. It's exactly 600 years later. And you see that the iconography has, and the architecture has further developed. And this is a different temple, Kedareshwara temple in Halebedu. Why am I showing you this? Just cause they're pretty, okay? No, I'm showing you this because I want you to see how a poetic thought continues to create like waves, like eddies. It keeps on creating. Think of how important Homer's Iliad is, right? The latest Woody Allen movie is about Greek tragedy. This is also a temple. And it is not human job, it's not the humanity's function to steward the earth. Here it is Krishna. He's lifting a mountain to protect all the cows around. Okay, so I want you to see this idea of God not standing outside and making history run, mano fortis, the strong hand of God through divine providence guiding history, but God and creator and created, or reality and its emanations, have a free sort of a fuzzy border here, which is the point. There's Krishna. And this is just sort of to show you how there is this vision of all these beings. So you pack as many beings into it as possible. Here Krishna conquers a snake that is destructive to a small pastoral village. Krishna is very pastoral and against urbanity, or sort of resists the egotism at the bottom of urban life. And these are his various avatars. Here he has one foot raised, where it's another story of a demon who has become the king of the earth. This always happens, people. Demons often get into power because they're egotistical and they have the will to power, so they come into power while all the nice people like you and me are sipping martinis and reading fat books. So So in this one, this is the demon king, and the demon king thinks that he is a whole reality unto himself. So Vishnu comes to him and says, can you give me alms? And he says, yes, I'll give you anything. What do you want? And he says 3 steps of land, and with 1 step, Vishnu conquers the earth, with the other, the sky, and Vishnu says, where should I take the 3rd step? And the fool says, my head is as big as a world. You can step on my head, and Vishnu suppress it. The imagery is representing something, that it is God's job, or it's not your job to clean up crap. Because often that is how people come into power, bad people come into power, by telling you that things have gone terribly wrong and they will make things great again. So that's the foot, okay. Another avatar, just to show you the series of avatars, the series of manifestations. All this comes from the Mahabharata. Here the demon says, I will not be killed by either a man or an animal or blah, blah, blah. So either indoors or outdoors, you know, they make up this shit. And so as a man-lion, he's able to overcome the demonic. All this goes to show you that the power of the demonic in us as the ego, as the will to power. And the divine constantly has to struggle to keep the demonic contained. Okay? So it's not this way that if you took a spaceship and flew somewhere, there you will see this, right? Yeah, so this is not the conception of, we are in a poetic world. This is the most interesting one, where Mother Earth becomes submerged in primordial waters of chaos. And in the form of a boar, with the head of a boar, Vishnu dives in and uplifts Mother Earth. So notice that all these incarnations are not having man or man's salvation as their aim, but the upliftment and the unburdening of earth. So, whatever the conception of deity is, it is for the upliftment of the world and not for individual egotistic reasons, because if you can summon God by rubbing a lamp or something, whatever, then it's your ego summoning God, right? And here you see Mother Earth happily seated on the shoulder of Vishnu with the head of a boar. Okay? These are all carved out of a material called soapstone, and it's black, and it's pretty intricate here in the Hoysala art. Again, some demon. It does not have to be Vishnu or a male, but here you see Durga, the goddess, in the Brahman in a feminine form, riding a lion and killing a buffalo-headed demon. You can, immediately go in humanities and say, does this have anything to do with the Minoan bull cult? Can I write a comparative paper on it? You can, but the best thing to do is just read these as good poetry and try to kind of learn something, or at least enjoy yourself. And this is actually not from this is one of the earliest depictions of the goddess, but there are other depictions that are much more intricate. So coming back to the Hoysala, there you see a little buffalo. He's so cute, but he's a demon under her foot. And notice always the Hindu gods bearing weapons, because it is always a battle between the divine and the demonic. This is the last. If anthropocentricity is the problem, then envisioning the universe as a dharmic system in which we are obligated to be unselfish is the answer. So now you refer to the Gita, and if you have 2 minutes, I can't really see properly, so David, could you just read that one thing? You can come here and read. He does readings with me. So
tonight I do.
This is one of his.
Yeah. Krishna said, fearlessness, inner purity, fortitude in the yoking of knowledge, liberality, self-control, sacrifice, Vedic study, austerity, uprightness, non-injuriousness, truthfulness, peaceableness, relinquishment, serenity, loyalty, compassion for creatures, lack of greed, gentleness, modesty, reliability, vigor, patience, fortitude, purity, friendliness, and lack of too much pride comprises the divine complement of virtues to him who is born to it.
These are the divine ones now.
The demonic.
The demonic.
Deceit, pride, too much self-esteem, irascibility, harshness, and ignorance are of him who is born to the demonic complement. The divine complement leads to release, the demonic to bondage.
Okay, continue.
There are 2 kinds of creation in this world, the divine and the demonic. I have spoken of the divine in detail. Now hear from me about the demonic. Demonic people do not know when to initiate action and when to desist from it. Theirs is neither purity nor deportment nor truthfulness. They maintain that this world has no true reality or foundation or divinity and is not produced by the interdependence of causes. By what then? By mere desire. Embracing this view, these lost souls of small enlightenment are with their dreadful actions capable of destroying this world they seek to hurt. Embracing this desire, which is insatiable, they go about filled with the intoxication of vanity and self-pride, accepting false doctrines in their folly and following polluting life rules. Subject to worries without measure that end only with their death, they are totally immersed in the indulgence of desires, convinced that this is all there is. Strangled with hundreds of nooses of expectation, giving in to desire and anger, they seek to accumulate wealth by wrongful means in order to indulge their desire. This I got today, that craving is still have to satisfy. This much I have as of now, but I'll get more riches. I have already killed that enemy, others I still have to kill. I'm a master. I enjoy, I am successful, strong, and happy. I am a rich man of high family. Who can equal me? I shall sacrifice, I shall make donations, I shall enjoy myself. So they think in the folly of their ignorance. Confused by too many concerns, covered by a net of delusions, addicted to the pleasures of desire, they fall into foul hell. Puffed up by their egos, arrogant, drunk with wealth and pride, they offer up sacrifices in name only, without proper injunction, out of sheer vanity.
Okay, we'll stop here, but you get what is the problem with pleasure? It's not that pleasure is bad. First, it is insatiable, and second, the subjectivity, right? I am the enjoyer. And once I feel that I'm the enjoyer, the next step is I deserve the pleasure. Someone is withholding it from me. How dare they? Right? And so, from the perspective of desire, the universe appears anthropocentric. From the perspective of thoughtfulness, it appears as a cosmic dance of dharma. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. questions or comments? I think comments are more interesting than questions, but questions are fine too. I'm not afraid.
Can you talk a little bit more about the difference between the will to power and self-mastery? They both have sort of elements of control, so I'm curious.
No, because in self-mastery, I stand within myself and see this battle, the gigantomachy or titanomachy, or the battle of giants or demons, and within myself. And I master it, right? And this is what nearly all religions also kind of talk about it. I mean, when you say you have to do your prayers 5 times, it's not because God will be upset that you didn't say. It's for you. It gives you, it organizes you. That's a kind of self-mastery. If you're able to say prayers 5 times regularly, there's something nice about you, that you can actually sort of get your shit together.
Treating it up as like the same the master slave dialectic. Now that really something like this is the bondage actually and placing that historical model. It's like it's walking history like these empire is useless. So like the dialectical thing like there's something treating it like me. So something like
Correct. He was a Lutheran, and he was trying to he wanted to depict reality as this dialectical unfolding of divine providence. Because it is divine providence in the beginning, there's that kind of bondage and conflict, but as things go better and better, by the time you come to the Prussian state, the spirit has become absolute. It is a linear thing. Yeah, it appears to go in circles, but it's always going like that, like a screw. And Hegel is the person who nails down the Christian idiom for us today. When we all talk about history, we are all wondering, where do we stand in this history? And Hegel has mapped that thing. You talk about right and left, whatever, wings, perspectives, and so where are they coming from? 2 interpretations of Hegel, the left Hegelians and the right Hegelians. So, and what is Marxism? Marxism is Hegel without the Geist or the spirit, but still with the idea of progress, which is divine providence, right? And yeah. So the invisible hand of God is very much there. So Hegel is, again, the reason I brought up this as Christianity is because I can easily explain this to you. Hegel is obtruse to explain, but my enemy here is Hegel. Totally. Totally. So when people ask me, are you right wing or left wing? I look at them and say, shut up, Hegel. And then they say, are you nationalistic? The whole idea of this kind of nation comes up in Europe at the time of Hegel, right? So going to, random countries and saying, are you a nationalist, is really not seeing the Hegel in there. This whole thing is about Hegel versus the Mahabharata, and I'm interested in the Mahabharata, but I'm more interested in critiquing Hegel.
With respect to Dharma at the individual level, I think it was Swadharma on
Yes.
that. Is there an element of predestination in the individual Dharma, or is it
Correct.
like the Buddha?
No, there is a predispensation to it, which is because of your karma. So if I constantly do crack, you can easily extrapolate and say what it is I will be doing next week.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so if I constantly give in to desires, then I will probably turn into a tyrant of some sort. But if I constantly practice study, thinking, all those, yeah, then I become predestined to that. And definitely this involves the cycle of rebirth and the soul going through many bodies, because if I say this body is absolutely mine, bang, I have anthropocentricity again.
Right, and just a quick follow-up, is it like Arjuna is of the warrior class?
Yes.
Is there predestination to your occupation, or is it predestination to your...
Well, according to the Mahabharata, Arjuna is a god who has descended for unburdening the earth. So yeah, he is predestined. Right. And I do, again, the word destiny is not the thing, but a dispensation, or rather a qualification, right? If I go through college and do all my things, I will be more likely to say smarter things or be a scholar or so than if I did not. So this idea of qualification is more, I think, in terms so I am not qualified to be a warrior. I'm also not qualified to be the President of the United States. I can critique all the existing presidents of the United States, but imagine what I would do. I mean, it would be worse, I'll tell you that. Because I do not have the training, I do not have the qualification, I do not have that in me. And I think we all kind of know that.
I feel like the approach of anthropocentricity to ecological issues can be, it is very useful. What about social issues? Because I feel it's kind of, and like if you put it against the, maybe there's something cosmological approach is more collectivist, while the anthropocentricity is more individualist. And
individualist, but not singular. It's not the same. So I am the singular process unfolding, an event unfolding, right? I'm an event, I'm not a thing, right? From my birth to death, I happen and then I die, I disappear. So in this happening, there is a continuity, which is singular. Other people can relate to it, but in the end, this is Heidegger's idea of being authentic towards your death. I mean, you can love, no matter whom you love and how much they love you, they can't even share your headache. So this idea of singularity flies in the face of Hegel and the story that they tell, right? In Hegel, everybody dies, but Hegel is basically this. If the patient lives, that's irrelevant. The surgery is successful only because the patient died or was negated and the science moved on. So all fascists and all these people start talking about some collective thing in the name of which they do so many bad things. Right? Many people who support horrible leaders are not themselves horrible people. But once Hannah Arendt talks about this, it's like the blob. Somebody wrote a rude book critiquing Hannah Arendt, saying Attack of the Blob. She was afraid of the blob. But suits me fine. So Hannah Arendt also talked about the singular. Once you say the collective, there are other problems too. The Jews as a collective, a cabal. Something must be done about the Jews. Right? So it has two sides to it. And social media, for example, is not really social. Yeah. If you want a social life, or being a social being, if you want to be a social being, then yeah, you should unsubscribe from Facebook. Which is very easy to do because it's become so predictable. I already know which people are constantly on Facebook and who are going to like or dislike anything I post. What's the point of posting? Yeah, and the worst thing is it gives you a false sense of having many friends, which offends me. Anybody with more than 5 friends is highly suspicious.
Thank you, Vish. I really appreciated this.
Thanks.
All the thoughts I just had.
Okay.
But my question is about, it seems like the project here is to convince people to think less about themselves and a little bit more poetically in relationship to the cosmos. But since the Earth is in such a problem right now, what are some things that we can actively do going forward to think about how to help the Earth be more healthy?
Change yourself. It sounds like a cliche thing, but by changing, I don't mean like, I will now sit cross-legged and chant Om. It just means that I become more perspicuous. I become much more careful. I think much more urgently. And I question things and say, is it so? When somebody comes and says, vote for me, I will do these things. In whose name? And what is the effect of it? Who will be the victims of it? Who is being scapegoated? Right? So it's not a lot I can give you, but the Marxists have a lot to give you. They have a whole utopia. But maybe we should become content with a little human respect and a sense of not being so anthropocentric in our thinking. And whether it has big effects or not, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And I'm not here to give you answers. I'm here to give you questions. And hopefully that I convey this sense of a kind of being more perspicuous. The German word is Einsicht, that I have a little Einsicht. I think more carefully. It's very easy to blame Trump or so and so, but we can also, go to the border and make soup or something for them. Or we could also ask Trump or the governments that all our desires need not be satisfied, right? Maybe I don't need big stock market returns. Maybe I will struggle a bit. It's not necessary. So this kind of asceticism, this kind of withdrawal, some of this you see in beautiful aspects of Islam, for example, kind of a dehiscence is a good thing. Asceticism, practice it a little bit, it'll be good. Do you know how much energy is expended by eating one burger? Okay, it's bad for Earth. It's bad for Earth.
How is I'm a little confused, but like the unburdening that happened, how do people in the Hindu religion view that? Do they think that it's like a good thing that it happens? Or like it's a shame that it came to that point where somebody had to come down and kind of like lift Mother Earth up?
Again, these are poetic descriptions, but the thing is, okay, So one of my students, David Kerfurst, started Olio, right? And that's what he got from what I had to say. One of my students from Drew University, Eric, he started a small farm, which is completely self-sustained. He's very conscious about growing everything he eats. And just yesterday I was having a meal with him and he said, I wanted avocados. And he said, no, they're bad for the environment because avocados apparently take up too much water and suck up resources, you know? Who knew that guacamole was the green devil? And he said it's changing the whole crop structure and so I'm thinking, well, maybe in the future I'll eat less guacamole. So it's just that constant thing, right? It's a trivial example, and I'm pretty sure that, you know, for me to like give these big theological pictures and say, you know, give these trivial examples, it may seem to you to be a small thing and a disappointment, but with what righteousness and with what conviction we take to violence and destruction, you know. First I see an injustice, then I'm filled with rage, I am not self-controlled, I think that I should set that right, and in doing so cause incalculable harm as well. So there are some people who are born to be leaders, who are very good with speaking and convincing people, rhetorical skills, as well as a good heart. Such people who are well qualified should go into politics. People like me should safely be kept in the libraries.
I guess kind of what I was getting at.
Without avocados.
You said that Mahabharata is kind of like against the Hegelian dialectic, right?
Yeah.
I don't know the proper term for it, but it's like the anti-dialectic where the synthesis is always like less or worse than the two combinations.
That is an entropic view, which is what the Mahabharata is structured around. So each cycle of the universe goes through 4 epochs, and in each epoch justice goes worse and worse and worse, and then it's reset. So the Mahabharata is systematically anti-Hegelian.
So it's like an inevitability that it's going to have a reset in this.
Right, it is entropic, and yet you have to do the best. This is Nietzsche's pessimism, which is actually a good thing, because optimists are not, either they're flaky or they're destructive, trust me. If your boyfriend or girlfriend is slightly pessimistic, it's a good thing. You have good reason to be pessimistic. But imagine if I was like, you know, I'm waiting for, you know, everything's gonna be up and dandy. Yeah. Okay, what else? Any other questions or comments? You can go ahead if you want. All right. Okay, that's the end of it. I wanted to thank you all for your enthusiasm. You know, in academia, we are asked to be more and more minute and irrelevant. This is how intellectuals are kept out of society. They're banished into universities where they will forever go on splitting hairs. So it's a very dangerous thing what I'm doing, to try to think big. And I'm very grateful for David and Chris for the whole Olio thing, for this venue, for your enthusiasm, because I'll have all of you in my mind when I continue my thinking, and the way you participated in it is wonderful for feedback for me. My email is on the thing, so if you have any further questions, you may contact me there. I also did some interviews in newspapers or magazines. They're all on my academia website, where I get more into the problem of historicism in more pithily than I can extempore. Okay, thank you.